homeless housing advocate and consultant and contractor. I'm just going to talk to you guys a bit before we get started to let you know where we are from last month to this month. We're working with Jesse Brown every single month, bringing a housing and workshop for not just veterans who are looking to buy, but veterans who are looking to rent because they're without housing, unhoused. I want to thank Cliff Kelley, America's Heroes Group, co founder, U.S. Army Vietnam veteran and host emeritus, for having a spot for me here on the show. Because what we have to talk about every month has been happening for the past 21 years that I've been serving homeless veterans. Homeless veterans from homeless and all types of homelessness. Some people think, and I had a real good conversation this week, and I'm like, I never thought about homelessness as everybody being literally on the street. But that's a lot of people's perception. And I'm here to break that glass, shatter that glass to let people know every veteran who is classified as homeless, they don't live on the streets like we see the tents and begging for money and things of that nature. So we have a very special guest here today, and I call this show A Journey of Resilience. And I am going to talk about this for just one moment before we jump right into it. Again, my name is Yvette Jones Swanson. I am a national veterans housing homeless advocate, consultant, and contractor nationwide. So, in this right here, I want you guys to buckle your seats because it's going to be a good one. Imagine this: after 37 honorable years of service in the military, my special guest, Mr. Swanson, found himself facing an unexpected challenge that he's going to talk about. And that challenge was being unhoused or having permanent housing. After serving 37 years and retiring, did I not mention that? 37 years and coming home unhoused. But every journey has a silver lining, and I'm proud to have been by his side as his realtor, guiding him through this transition. Together, we navigated the complexities of the housing market and turned dreams into reality. Because I am a realtor. I'm a realtor with Real People Realty and has been,
Yeah.
have.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Have been for the past since 2011. 11. That's how long I've been with Real People Realty. I've been a realtor for 26 years. 21 of those years I've been housing homeless, unhoused, not having permanent housing veterans. I just say homeless veterans. I was once a homeless veteran 7 or more times. I just stopped counting. So listen to this. Mr. Swanson's story is a testament to resilience, hope, and the importance of community support. Let's continue to uplift and empower those who have served our country. Here's to new beginnings. I'd like to introduce you all to Mr. Steven Swanson, my special guest, and my husband.
Mhm.
Hey, honey.
All right.
So today is October 16th, 2024. My husband is Army retired Steven Swanson, Master Sergeant. So you and I, it's just you and I and the millions of people who are watching. We want to know what happened. You retired from the Army unhoused. We want to know what happened, and then we want to know what happened next. So let me ask you this first question. Reflecting on your transition from from military life, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced becoming unhoused? And how did you navigate those challenges during your initial adjustment period?
Okay. The biggest challenges was, in the military, of course, as you become more senior, uh, as far as being there so long, getting higher in rank,
Hmm.
you got a lot of duties to do, a lot of hats to wear,
Okay.
um, and trying to do those duties at the same time that I was becoming, trying to out process
Hmm.
was a challenge because you got to go through a lot of different places, sign off on everything.
Yeah.
At the same time, you got to do your work because the military don't care about your personal stuff.
Right.
They want you to do the job. So that's why I found myself kind of stuck in the middle of that, trying to make sure I get all my paperwork together. So I had to, make a decision which one was more important. If I didn't do my job, of course, I would have got a bad evaluation,
Hmm.
could have got bad other than honorable discharge
Yeah,
and
we don't want
things like
that.
that. Right.
Hmm.
So I had to sacrifice which one was more important, you know, making sure all my paperwork together so I get all my benefits when I got out
Hmm.
and just deal with what I had to deal with once I got out.
Mm.
I didn't feel like the challenge was going to be that difficult
Mm.
for me to get a place to stay after I got out of the military.
Well, I asked you a question last night. I asked you, when did you retire?
That was almost 7 years ago. It will be exactly 7 years,
What's
October
Mhm.
the 31st of 2017.
And then when were you permanently housed?
I was permanently housed on September of 2018.
Where was that permanent housing?
That permanent housing was in Park Forest, Illinois.
Okay. So from 2017 to 2018, that was a total of 11 months that you were
Yeah,
without permanent housing.
searching for housing. Yeah.
So after you retired, 37 years, and he retired unhoused, which is not uncommon because a lot of veterans don't have time to do, like I used to call him Mr. But to do like Steven said, they don't have enough time to do their actual job duties and come back to where they're going to retire to live.
Mm. So yeah. So, but let's make sure everybody understand those 37 years was a combination of active duty and reserve. 15 years on the active duty side and 22 years on the reserve side.
So when you retired, where were you stationed?
I was stationed in Newark, Delaware.
And how long were you there?
I was there almost 4.5 years.
Okay. So
Mhm.
4.5 years, and then you come back to Chicago
Mhm.
because that's where you're going to retire.
Yeah. Well,
Hmm.
yeah, pretty much.
Well, that's what you did.
That's
That's
what I did. Well,
that.
initially I thought I was going to stay there.
Hmm.
That's why I wasn't so much looking for a place because I knew I could get something in, I already had a place there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could have continued the apartment that I stayed in, but you know, I decided to come back home, try to help with my kids, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that worked out. So
Mhm.
we do have some more interesting questions to ask and maybe fill in the blank with some people. Let me tell y'all, this show is is it's I mean, it just plays over and over and over again with veterans who are out processing. How long did you tell me that it should take a veteran to out process to get the necessary tools that they need to come back to where they're retiring to live?
Yeah, I would say nothing less than 6 months. But what the military do, they put you in a TAP program, which is 40 hours, right?
Hmm.
And so those 40 hours, the main thing that I learned from the TAP program was basically just how to do a resume, how to get a job.
Hmm.
Not too much about housing was never mentioned, not that I remember. And I'm still available to go to those TAP programs. But most of it is about, getting a good job, getting your resume built up, getting connections for jobs or whatever.
Yes.
But nothing about housing. Yeah.
So that's where the disconnect is.
Hmm. Yeah. It's a big disconnect. And I would like to see more of that included in some of that process. And it need to be extended because, if you want to buy a house or get a place to stay, you need time. You want to
Hmm.
review the area, neighborhoods, whatever you want to do. So
Right, because you
uh,
may not come back to the same community that you left from.
you want to pick different areas that you want to be a safe environment for you to live. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
So just in case you all are wondering, Mr. Swanson was my client as a realtor.
Mhm.
Our lender from Loan Depot, Timothy Lee, called me on the day Mr. Swanson was at a Veterans Resource Fair.
Yes.
Look, doing what? What were you doing there?
Um, I think I was just job hunting or something like that and ran into Timothy. Yeah.
So you did what the TAP program
I
said and go look for a job,
go looking for a job.
but
Yeah.
you had already retired
Hmm.
and just so many things needed to happen in order to bring your life together.
Right. Yeah. So many things to pull it together. I mean, I was staying traditionally, transitionally, rather, different hotels,
Mhm.
months at a time until I finally, found a place to stay. But, I had an apartment I thought I was going to move into, but it didn't work out. The landlord, the lease, I just didn't agree with.
Mhm.
Uh, and so, and shortly after that, I think I ran into Timothy at the job fair,
Mhm.
and he introduced me to
And
you,
that's the day he called me and you were standing right there and he put you on
standing
the
right there.
phone.
Yeah.
And I said, "No veteran under my watch is
Hmm.
going to be homeless." I was furious when I heard his story.
Yeah.
37 years and you retire unhappy. It's like the military just said, "Get out."
Well, yeah,
Really?
yeah. It
Really?
it, it was a lot, and I don't want to really go into that,
I
but yeah,
know.
well, a lot involved in into that, and they had to know I hadn't, had a place to stay, but
I know.
it is what it is, right?
They know a lot of things
That's
that
that's one thing they teach you is to hey, adapt and overcome,
Mhm.
right? Yeah.
So again, my name is Yvette Jones Swanson, and I am sitting here with my husband, Steven Swanson, who is a retired Army Master Sergeant serving 37 years in our armed forces, who retired unhoused until he met me.
Mm.
Now let me set the record straight because it has always been a pet peeve of mine never to when you date somebody you work with. I would never do that. So I don't mess with the hand that feeds me, and real estate fed me and still is. So he was never looked at as a man of mine until he called me and said, "Happy birthday to me." I'm like, "It's not my birthday." It was his birthday.
That's right. Yeah.
And I still felt so bad because we looked at several houses
Hmm.
and it was always something. And I understood what you meant when we finally found that first house, that it was a really, really nice and big townhome. And all of your stuff after all those years
Right.
could fit.
In storage. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was very in insightful that happened.
Mhm.
So let's carry on. How did your military experience shape your resilience and determination in overcoming the hardships of being unhoused And the second part is, can you share any specific lessons that helped you in this journey?
Um, just like I said, my career in the military over the several years, right? Traveling, being in different countries, different conditions, um, just give you a little more ability to withstand a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
You know, if I was on the street, I probably would be able to survive. Everybody can't do that depending on what area you are. But just, all of the military training I had, I know how to survive,
Yeah.
in pretty much in any environment. But
Yeah.
um yeah, you just want to look um and yeah, so that was mostly how I was able to overcome, just being out there unhoused.
With the training over the
But at
37.
the same time, like
Mhm.
I said, I saved my money while I was in. I had money enough to stay in the military. I mean,
Right, in the
in those
motels.
hotels
Mhm.
until I found something.
Yeah.
Fortunately for me, and I wasn't really out on the street like that. But and then I was still putting in for my disability rating, so that was extra money that I would need that I could use to buy a house
Yeah.
or an apartment, get an apartment or whatever. But my main thing was getting apartments. But of course, as we know, apartment housing ain't what you really want to do,
Right.
right? And that's only a temporary fix.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right.
Hmm.
So I had a conversation
Hmm.
with we're gonna take a break and come back. Oh, okay, no, we're not. So
Okay.
so I had a conversation with my therapist this morning. I didn't tell you about this because you weren't home. But my conversation, and as a veteran, we have that as a healthcare benefit. So if you need someone to talk to, contact your primary care provider and talk to somebody. This really helps, with our PTSD and other conditions that we have. But this morning I talked to my I don't know, psychologist about the term homeless, because my husband, he said, "Don't say that about me." And I respect that. So we had to come up with a term, because when you think of the word homeless, people think that it's
Mhm.
dirty, it's shameful, it's just maybe on drugs, alcohol, and you're living on the street, and you really have no resources.
Mhm.
So he wasn't what the n- um, notion is that some people have. He was transitioning, not in, how do we put it, without permanent housing.
Mhm.
Because I had a conversation with her this morning,
Yeah.
and I also had a conversation with Gabrielle, because she thought all homeless people were that way, and that's where I'm like, oh no, people think like that.
Yeah.
So, so,
Yeah.
so I'm glad you and I had that conversation. I'm glad
Mhm.
Gabrielle and I had that conversation. Because for
Mhm.
21 years, I just say homeless, because that's how the government categorizes people, veterans who
That's
are
unhoused.
unhoused.
Mhm.
So now we can shape those conversations around. This is how it went this morning. Without permanent housing, but you're homeless. But how does that look to you?
Mhm.
What's happening while you're in this state
Mhm.
with being without housing?
Transition.
Right. Are you couch surfing? Are you on the bus? This happens to some people.
Mhm.
On the train, in the park, in a shelter, in a motel.
Mhm.
Yeah, that came real common to me, because I wasn't in the position of receiving service connection disability pay. I barely had a job, and the job that I had when I was homeless, because sometimes I was in my car.
Mhm.
A lot of times I was in my car, on the bus, on the train, in the hallway of an apartment building, sleeping between the door frame. So, the luxury of having money to stay in a motel, that would have been ideal. But some people are categorized that way. And then from being unhoused, we seek shelter in places which had heat or air conditioned to be out of the weather.
Mhm.
Okay. And wanted and want what led to being homeless. I don't know what that said. But anyway, we've got 1 minute left. And I want to tell you guys that we have a YouTube channel. We're going to continue this conversation. Just look up my name, Yvette Jones Swanson, or Vet Mentors LLC. And I want to thank my husband for being here. Thank you, honey,
All right.
for explaining how, all that he talked about. Thank you guys for watching.